So our first order of business is that we have just to approve the Finance Committee Secretary's wages. So Linda submitted the sheet for us to sign. It shows a total of 48 work hours, and at the wage rate $14.68, it's total $704.64. And she provided a breakdown of all the hours of the many meetings, and then writing of the minutes and revising and watching the DVD. So I don't know if anybody wants to see the detail. If not, can I have a motion that we approve these wages?
I make the motion, we approve the wages.
Okay. And do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, Janet. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? No? Okay, so approved. So we just need to sign these.
Thank you. Do I just write FinCom?
Oh, it doesn't say it on that?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I'll just write it here. All right, so there's one. Then the next item on the agenda is the reserve fund transfers. We don't have any transfers for anything else, so normally the balance is transferred to the snow and ice fund. Per the balance sheet that Debbie handed out, we have, wait, this says 14,100.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds right.
Okay. Or was I thinking that was low? Okay, yeah, that's right. So 14,100. So do I have a motion that we transfer this to the deficit in the snow and ice account?
I'll make the motion for the transfer.
Okay, Janet, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Larry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? All right. So. Seven, 9, 13, 4. Alrighty. Alright. So, next on the agenda was fiscal year 13 interdepartmental transfers, but we have none, so we'll skip over that. And then next are the minutes, and Linda sent us all kinds of minutes to go through this evening, so thank you, Linda, for doing all
Did you
that.
get them yesterday morning?
Yesterday morning, yep. Yep. So, so the first is April 3rd. Did anybody, I think we might have seen these before, and there were just some revisions. I had no further changes.
think the only thing was on page 2, the 73.6 and 78.9. Those were dollar figures, but you can just let it go or approve it
Okay.
as it is.
Yep, okay. Okay, do I have a motion that we approve these minutes for April 3rd, 2013?
I'll make the motion. We approve the minutes for April 3rd.
Okay.
I'll second.
Janet? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, approved. Okay.
That has to be
Hello.
open. That has to be open.
We're just going through the minutes right now, so. So next is the April 9th minutes. And again, I think we had seen these before. I did not have any further changes. Did anybody else have anything?
I actually did have a question, and Linda said that she is going to look into it.
Okay.
Because I don't remember clearly. The meeting on
Yep.
page 1 began at 7:15.
Yeah,
On the bottom, it says that the water department discussion ended at 7:37, so that's 22 minutes. And then the library began at 7:38 and ended at 8:50, which is an hour and 10 minutes. I don't remember spending an hour and 10 minutes on the library. So I'm
alright.
kind of thinking that perhaps this should, 7:37 should be 8:37.
Oh, yes, I think you're right.
So Linda said that she was going to review the tape to make sure that was
Okay.
accurate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, I think we made the correction on the 4th line from the bottom. We were talking about the water enterprise free cash, and that it was additional to this form and that the fiscal team gives them advice on it. I think we were gonna change that to something like, would be used to establish a stabilization fund.
What page is that, Larry?
First page, 4th line from the bottom.
So change it to establish,
Would be used to establish a stabilization fund.
So starting with,
And
And
strike
that-
was additional to this form,
Right, okay.
and that the fiscal team
okay,
gives them advice on it.
okay.
And then on page 3, I think at the last part where Peter stated that the Triton School helped with the budget, I think that was changed to help that the Triton School, stated that the Triton School helped by reducing their budget.
Oh. Okay. Any other changes, anybody? Okay. So next is the 4:17 minutes. I had a couple of questions on this. On the number 5, where it starts, Larry White would like to know what is going on with the community service. Is that the Community Preservation Fund?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, the Community Preservation Fund. And then on page 2, like halfway through where it says Karen DeHosel took a look at the personnel study and stated that it was slightly higher than average on the business manager and that the other towns did not have a business manager.
I think that was administrative assistant. 'Cause
There was no business manager, so that's, I would have said that, but I wouldn't have said both because that would be contradicting. So if we can just strike,
Where is that?
Page 2.
Yeah.
page 2 where it says Karen DeHosel took a
Oh,
look at the
took a look
personnel
at this
study.
from-
And you can say, I question the business manager increase because the other towns did not have a business manager. And then just in that paragraph, the last sentence, Bob Mary stated that the town does not want to lose the water department, but feels that the town could be getting to that point.
Take it out.
I would just take out that whole sentence. Or, did you have something else?
No, that's fine.
I would just get rid of that too.
I have something too. I don't remember saying that people haven't gotten raises in 4 years because I wouldn't know if that was true or not. I don't know where that came from.
So scratch that
And
line.
where is that?
Well, where it says right after Bob Mary stated that the salary is huge, but it's what the rate in the surrounding towns, and it says that I stated that people have not gotten raises in 4 years. I
So-
don't think I said that.
So take out that sentence. Okay.
When we're deleting stuff, further on up, you need to hold a special meeting because you may violate the open meeting law. The townspeople want answers and the town meeting is to appropriate funds. I'm just kind of lost at that. I just assume take that out.
Well, that was Joan Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at that point she was telling us that we couldn't discuss people.
People. yeah.
Right.
Individuals.
But
So that's stated in the sentence,
Yeah.
we are here to discuss the water budget, not to discuss personnel. So you want to scratch, you need to hold a special meeting,
right. And
and
then,
the next sentence.
well, that's fine, goes on to explain the board. If the town does not pass water department, that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay, okay.
But then Larry White explains to the board that a citizen's query to tell the Board of Selectmen what their concerns are. In turn, the Board of Selectmen requests a town hall meeting. Joan Peterson stated that if you do not notify the Board of Selectmen, you will be in violation. I just as soon take that out because I really don't understand what that sentence is.
Just the Joan Peterson.
Well, from Larry White explains all
Oh.
the way to you will be in violation.
Okay. So scratch that whole. From Larry White, who Joan Peterson stated that if you don't notify the Board of Selectmen, you'll be in violation.
Right.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. So next is the May 1st minutes. I didn't have anything of any consequence.
Okay, nothing on that.
I might have, I'm just saying, because I thought there was something in there.
When we're referring to the finance committee, you're talking about in the minutes about the water department and the water board and the board of selectmen, but then like, for instance, about 10 sentences below, or 10 lines below the bottom. Bob Mary asked the board to look at article number 6. It's very confusing, and I'd like to change that to the Finance Committee or FinCom, or where there's a reference to the Finance Committee as opposed to the Water Board or the Board of Selectmen. I think we should make the distinction that it's the Finance Committee.
And where is that?
Okay.
Oh,
About 10 lines from the bottom, Bob Mary asked the board to look at Article 6. You will see the wages are negotiated wages.
so take that out?
Well, change the board to Finance Committee or FinCom or something like that.
Do you want me to do that throughout the whole thing?
Yes. Only because it's confusing that you're referencing the Finance Committee as a board, and it gets confused with the Water Board and the Board of Selectmen. So like in the next sentence, Bob Mary said to the board that he respectfully wants the Finance Committee. It almost sounds like he's maybe talking about the Water Board or whatever, which I don't think he was.
Okay.
And there's several other
Mr.
ones. Bob Mary explained to the board the Finance Committee is only an advisory team. Bob Snow reminded the board that they are talking about the overall budget. Mr. Snow is asking the board. And then on page 2, there's about another 4 places.
Okay, then as long as you're making those changes on page 2, just the end of that first paragraph, you can just strike that only, because it says the budget is necessary and that they only look at the position only. Just
Oh.
get rid of that second only.
Yeah.
It's not a biggie, but as long as you're making some changes. Anybody, anything else?
Well, the updates, make it sound like I'm making some kind of criticism. I think this was taken out of context. It says Mrs. Sensilla said there was a big to-do over change orders. What I said is they focused on change orders, at the meeting, which I think was, was a good thing, but it makes it sound like that I'm against that, saying Mrs. Sensilla said there was a big to-do over change orders.
You want to just say a lot of
Or
discussion?
charge orders, I mean, what?
You want to just
Yeah,
change it to
that there
a lot of
was this
discussion?
discussion and a focus on charge orders, not that I said it was a big to-do
Okay.
over charge,
That's change?
Yes,
What's-
change orders.
Charge.
Change
Is that
orders.
is that change of charge, change
It's
orders,
change
yeah.
orders.
Okay.
Mhm. Then the last sentence doesn't seem to make much sense to me, I don't know. She also asked Peterson, Sensilla, Laura Hamilton, and mentioned the membranes. Mrs. Sensilla stated that he asked Laura Hamilton about the membranes, and she said that the membranes could be different price-wise.
I was questioning
What
the
does
price.
that mean? There could be different.
I was questioning the price, so,
Because there was discussion if it was 100,000 or
or
500,000.
500,000.
Right.
So that
And
must
she
have
was
been.
gonna try to look into it or something.
Right,
Could be different price-wise.
so she still
Okay.
wasn't sure, and
Okay,
so that's what that was.
Leave it or take it out?
Leave
we'll
it.
leave it like this.
Okay, so, moving right along to the May 29th minutes.
I did have a change on May 29th, which I've already shown Linda.
Okay.
On page 2, under updates, there was discussion about the new board, and the person who was elected clerk is actually Stu Dalzell, and she's aware of that.
Oh,
And then Superintendent Reza is RECZA.
RECZ.
Yes.
Is it John?
Yes.
And then in the second paragraph, most departments are level funded since Dave Peterson was on the Board of Selectmen.
The D.
D should be capitalized.
I got that.
Okay.
In the second paragraph, under updates, where it says Karen Drahosel asked Deb Egan why Rowley does not follow the same as other towns,
Mm-hmm.
you can strike that. That was just a side question, because the timing of our funding is different, but the discussion was about the remaining balances, so I think that is confusing.
And that's second paragraph.
That's in the second paragraph,
Oh, I see. Strike the whole
so just
thing.
strike that sentence, just that one sentence.
And before then, Dave should be capitalized. I just want to change that.
Oh, I have
That-
that circled.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Okay, so if you, anybody, anything else? Okay. Okay. So then moving on to June 26th. Minutes, I did not notice anything in these, but did anybody?
The only
else?
thing I saw on page 2,
Mhm.
under update, Karen Drahosel, the second Karen Drahosel
Oh.
is not capitalized,
Okay.
the letter D.
The same thing on the bottom of the first page. Second to last sentence, Larry is not capitalized.
Correct.
I mean, those are minor, so I mean,
Right,
if
right.
there's nothing else.
Where is that?
Second to last line of the first page, midway through the sentence, Larry White, Larry's name. Larry's not capitalized.
Yeah, so if there's nothing
I don't
more,
think it's
then maybe we can
material.
approve them, and just when you
Right.
update it to say approved, if you can just make those typo updates, that would be great. So do I have a motion that we approve these minutes for June 26th?
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
nays? No? Okay. All right.
Only
Very
for
good.
June 26th. Or all of them?
Sorry?
Only June 26th. right?
Correct.
Okay.
Right, we approved the April 3rd, and then we approved June 26th, with just those minor capitalizations. And then the others have a few revisions. Thank you very much for getting those to us, Linda.
You'll have these tomorrow. I'm gonna do them tonight, so I'll even have.
Okay, then you don't have to try to remember. All right. So next on the agenda was that we wanted to take a look at the balances remaining for fiscal year 13, which is essentially ended. However, Debbie pointed out that we still have a cycle of wages yet to pay that haven't hit, and the boards technically have until, the different departments have until the 15th, I believe, to submit, or to have other debits posted. So this isn't the final. In view of that, I don't know how much, unless people had significant questions, if you want to go through anything.
Well, I actually called the fire chief because I thought the fire department's budget was, it's over 100,000. So I figured it was, it would be one that questions might come up
Okay.
on. So I
What
can
page
give you
is
an
that
update
one?
on that.
Page 5?
Yes, page 5.
Page-
Bottom of it, and carries over onto page 6.
There's some pretty healthy balances on this one, yeah.
So, obviously the chief's salary's fully paid, and so we don't get into any significant balance until we start looking at the call firefighter wages. That is based on historical activity year to year. They can't really, they don't know for sure what they're gonna pay, because it is on-call firefighters. There is still 2 weeks' worth of payment that will come off that balance.
Mhm.
There was a lot of activity, I'm not sure if you read about it.
Right.
So, in the last, at the end of June, so that balance will drop. The fire station design, that balance has been on the books for quite a while. This is the money that we're using for the committee, fire station committee that the finance rep on.
Mhm.
So that's there. There's no, at this point, there's no plans to spend it, but
If you found land, then you would.
it would be used for any number of purposes related to trying to find an
Okay.
appropriate place or design or whatever. It's not that much money that a lot could be done with it, but that's what it's for.
Okay.
Firefighter expenses. What can you tell me about that? He thought that there was somewhat more money coming off of it, that there was an increase to this line item because of gas and diesel costs. So that could possibly be why there's some money, but he did say there was about $5,000 worth of outstanding bills that would come off that balance. The fire horn compressor, this was money that was appropriated at a town meeting to replace a compressor in the town hall that is tied into horns up in the cupola.
Mhm.
It had been broken for an extended period of time. The chief really never asked for it, but it was appropriated at a town meeting. Since that time, the cupola has been repaired, the horns have been removed from the cupola. The compressor is so antiquated that the person that could be hired to look at it won't look at it until certain certifications have been done. So I'm not sure that money's ever gonna get used.
Right.
But it was appropriated at a town meeting, so I don't really know what happens. Like, it was special funding for that purpose. And the command vehicle, this is the chief's truck, I think. Was it a truck or a Tahoe that we had funded via transfer earlier?
Mhm.
That has been ordered, and once it is ready and with everything that needs to be in it, and he picks it up, this balance will be used.
What's the
Okay.
6,000 that was spent on it already?
That was for the radio.
The radios.
Oh, okay.
So although it looks like a significant remaining balance, it will come down, and I think, for as often as we can keep the call firefighter wages unused,
Right.
I think
That's
the
a
whole
good
town
thing.
benefits.
That's a good thing.
Mhm.
From a personal property perspective.
Yes.
Sure, definitely.
So for the record, I'll say that the police chief budget looks pretty good now. I mean, with only less than, a couple of weeks left, it looks like, they've pretty much spent down most of their funds, so.
Yeah.
Yep, so it was planned
Um,
appropriately. Yep. But I thought this was useful getting this,
Mhm.
and I think that, if we want to have these types of discussions, it was a quick call for me with the chief to get the
Mhm.
answers so that we
Mhm.
have more information up front.
Yep, no, that was great. Thank you for doing that ahead of time.
On page 6, the harbor master, assistant harbor master. Does anyone know anything about, if the assistants, have they just not been used or anything?
I don't know.
That would be a question
Yeah.
for Debbie,
Right.
if she's not here.
Yeah,
Well, I
it
wonder
looks
if a
like-
lot of it doesn't really, well, you would think some of it would have been from last fall, last summer,
Mhm.
Right.
and then possibly some in June, so I don't know.
Same with like on page 10, the recreation department. The 7792, nothing else. I just don't know whether that's, they're paid on a one-time basis or, I think over a period of time, but
Yeah.
I wonder why, if it's not gonna be used, and why is it there?
Yeah. So again, people have some time yet, well, maybe not quite a week, to submit their final pay, but it's looking like those aren't being used at all.
What about the highway department, Larry? Why is that capital gonna be used and spent?
What page are you on?
Down on page, where the page is here,
Eight.
page 8. There's $12,000 they allotted for that, but nothing's been spent on that yet.
You mean the surveyor?
The highway department, the last one, capital equipment, $12,000.
That was from a special article in last year's meeting, so
Mhm.
maybe it's something they,
No, that's from this year's.
Yeah, isn't that the mowers and things?
Right.
Which I thought I have seen, so possibly it just hasn't hit the books yet. I mean, I've seen a
I'll
lot
check
of.
on it and let you know next meeting.
okay.
The cemetery still has 20,000, but it's probably the same thing. A special article.
What
Right.
page you?
9,
Page 9.
20,000. So likely it's just been appropriated and not.
Right, so anything that's an article, they have time, there's not a set, end date to using that. It's more if the project is still in progress, then they have up until it's closed to spend that money. Otherwise, it becomes money that can be transferred at town meeting to
Right.
something else, so.
Yeah, well, that's the paving of the new sections, so
Yeah.
that probably hasn't been done yet, but.
Hmm.
Any other questions on any?
Recreation department. Didn't spend anything on the 7,792? Page 10?
Yeah, we were just talking about that one. the
Oh, you were?
wages, Yeah,
Oh. What was the reason?
we don't know.
We don't know.
Oh.
It does look odd. Again, everyone does have another, almost a week to process their final wage
Mm-hmm.
charges, so.
But they still should be flagged though.
But it shouldn't,
you know?
yeah,
Right.
it would be, it's odd that it would be untouched, yeah. So I think it'd be good for the next meeting to get the final version of this, when everything has been processed, and just
Mhm.
have that for
Mhm.
future planning purposes.
Mm.
So like, when you look at these special articles, and some of them are quite, go back a ways, but, something with $32.12 for a balance, and, for the water department, and I don't, just using this as an example, but do we eventually, can that money be moved out if it's, Because once it's appropriated for an article, how do you
Then
Leave.
at town meeting, it has to be approved to be transferred
Back.
for another purpose. Like when we approved various transfers at the last town meeting, from article to article. If it's in the omnibus budget and it wasn't spent in a given year, then that's what can be the free cash the following year, once it's certified.
But article money stays.
But article money stays as article money, and then you transfer it from that article to whatever the need is.
Okay.
But that has to be specifically approved at town meeting. But we could be looking at all these really old ones.
Yep.
There are some that
Yeah.
are very
And-
old.
It's like when the
Clean it out.
when the budget is balanced, whoever balances it and says yes, you know, the whatever was spent is exactly to whoever was appropriated. How does things like these articles or places that, you know, the cash is there and will never get spent, or maybe not reappropriated, how does that figure into the budgeting process?
I think it's something,
Is it carried on like a false
I think it carries on as a line item,
positive?
like this one from '03 here on this line item. It's for $4,054. Looks like it's an article from 2003, so it just stays on that line item. But it's not used to operate the department. It just
But
stays
it still
there.
shows
Right.
up as a positive to offset other expenses, which are true expenses. In other words, you know, you spent, we'll say, money to buy a truck. Okay, so that $20,000 is negative and you had to spend it. But in balancing the budget, there might be $20,000, we'll say, for old Nancy, okay, that looks like it's offsetting that. Do you see what I'm talking about? It's not true cash in hand. It's appropriated, but you really can't use it, whereas the expenses are not, they're true expenses. You know, you have to pay those.
yeah, the article money, it just, they use what they needed, and then if there is a balance remaining, that can be used towards some need at some point in the future, but
I don't think it's coming. I mean, I know what you're saying on a balance sheet. You have all your.
Right. I mean, you'd
But I-
have like true assets, okay,
Yeah.
money that comes in, and then
All your liabilities.
appropriated but unusable cash.
I don't
think
think
that's-
they're using these numbers here in order to determine the rate, which is driven by the wages less expenses. Article money, I don't believe.
Mm.
right, the article money would have been raised in the year of that, for that article was for.
But you'd have to we'd have to see how they account for.
Mm.
But
So you don't know how it's done, or how it was done in the past?
How, what was done?
How the balanced budget shows appropriated funds that are not spendable without a warrant or some other change.
I don't think they track them on their.
I don't think it would be
Budget.
counted for.
I don't think we've ever seen this.
When they do their assessment for the town, I don't think that's a separate basket, I think, you know, from an accounting point of view. I don't think that's part of, you know, when they factor in,
It's not part of their operating budget.
what?
It's
Yeah.
not part of their
Right.
operating budget. Right.
So that's,
Mm.
when they do the tax, when they do the assessment, I don't think that's included in that.
I
'cause
think it's
already been.
off the balance sheet.
Yeah.
The article money?
Yes.
Right, it's not part of the omnibus budget at all.
Or even
And
for
I-
the water department, that's not part of the omnibus budget. I think all
Right.
those articles are kept off balance.
Separate.
Correct.
Yeah.
Off the balance
And
sheet.
I believe Sue Bailey, the town accountant, periodically goes through if she's seeing nothing against some of these, and she somehow knows that, the project is done as far as it's going to go. She periodically cleans these out or says that
Mhm.
we could be using some of that money as needed, but pending approval at town meeting.
And I think my issue is really not that, but it's about the free cash, like when there's money in the budgets and they don't spend it, that's why I like to know, like, we don't know what the free cash, I like to know what the free cash consists of, so we have some idea if it's coming from one or two departments more than other departments, so we can track it, because some of these budgets might be carried forward, and might be, the budget might be too high, I mean,
Right.
I'm not saying the police, because it looks like the police is pretty good, but now it looks watching the fire department now what their budget is, because
Well, I think
that's,
I think that one is gonna be coming in close. I mean, you take out the article money, I think that one's coming in close
Is
to
it
what it's
now?
budgeted.
Right, he explained
Okay.
everything.
because how much was the article money, about 60,000?
6,000 for the compressor, and then there was the article, I think it was just a transfer for the command
Okay.
vehicle.
Yeah, the
I don't think it was
total
an
thing
article.
was like 60,000, and then they spent 6,000 on the radios, and
Oh, it was a special
43,000 was the
Yeah.
command vehicle.
Okay.
So,
Any other questions you want to talk about? So you have a follow-up with the highway department.
Right.
give it a
And then
home.
we'll get the next update when the books are closed for fiscal year 13 for the next meeting. Okay. Then next on the agenda is updates from FinCom reps, liaisons, etc. So first, I have a little business to attend to, given the changes from the last meeting where we elected Larry, the chairman. Technically, the liaison to the Personnel Board would be the chair, from the Finance Committee would be the chairperson of the Finance Committee. So I am officially resigning from the Personnel Board for my long term of 2 months, effective August 1st. And I nominate Larry as our FinCom rep to the Personnel Board. So I'll make the nomination. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Jamie. And all in favor?
Aye.
Don't look at me.
Anyways, you gonna say it all?
Okay, so approved unanimously. So, all right. And then, anybody else, any other updates?
I
Well,
have,
oh,
oh, no,
I was just
please,
gonna
go
ask
ahead.
one question before we move on.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
given that you're taking over the Personnel Board, do you have time to cover the rest of the boards that you already have, or the departments, or do we need to talk about shifting anything? Or do you want to think about it?
I think we should probably bring it up at the next meeting.
Okay.
Where I'm taking over. But you can volunteer for.
I'm just throwing it out there that you're taking on another board, another responsibility or liaison position, and
Right.
just whether or not. So,
No, it's a valid point, and it's something we should discuss next meeting.
and I mean, I don't know if we even want to, mix things up to get a different flavor, but just ideas we can talk about.
Yep, that's a good point. So, other updates?
Okay,
Jamie?
I have a few updates from the water department. The water department reads their meters the last Wednesday of the month. The way that it happened in June is that there are actually 4 days in June with the new rate going into effect July 1st, which would probably be an accounting nightmare. So last week the board, the water commissioners voted that the reading from the last Wednesday in June through the last Wednesday in July will actually be at the June rate, will not be reflective of the new rate that went into effect July 1st. Because of that, they are looking at roughly a $60,000 reduction in income for that period of time. because they calculated it at the new rate, and the commissioners voted to keep it at the current rate for that 1 month.
Has that ever happened before?
Apparently it happens often, but the water rate change has been so negligible in the past that it really hasn't had the economic impact that it will where the rates have gone up so much this year, because the rates have been steady for many years. So that's something that Laura is attentive to, and they are going to plan that differently for next fiscal year. Okay. And the consultant that they hired to fill in when Mr. Rezzo was out, who also assumed responsibility of looking at the construction of the new plant, they offered him, they changed his contract because of course Mr. Rezzo is back now, and the contract that they offered him that he has agreed on will be that he will continue on overseeing what's going on with the water plant construction. His contract states that it will not exceed $8,000, and that's coming from the non-SRF fund of the $1.3 million. That's where he's being paid for. I actually think that's money very, very well spent. He has a very strong background and is probably, if you went and picked 100 prime candidates, he would probably be at the top. And he's been very proactive in making sure that, number one, the contract is being done, the building is being done correctly to specs, and also looking at opportunities where the costs can be controlled. So I think that that's a lot of money, but it's very well invested.
Do you mean $8,000 for what period? How many months?
It is I do not know how long the contract goes. I do know that they're doing masonry projects now, and he said that his services will not be needed during that period of time.
Okay.
But he's already been pretty aggressive at looking at different responsibilities.
What is the cost again?
$8,000 for the contract.
Oh.
So he will not. He's making $80 an hour, so he will not be going
Okay.
over 100 hours. Okay. And tonight they voted to offer a candidate that they selected for the primary position, and they will be putting that offer through to him tomorrow. So the hope is that, based on what the candidate wants to do in terms of giving notice to his current employer, the hope is that he will be accept the offer and then be on board August 1st.
Wow.
Okay.
Where's he coming from?
He
Can't
hasn't
say
given the
it.
offer
Okay.
yet, so I can't say it.
No, I know, I understand that.
Okay. And that's it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anybody else? Any other updates? We've had no
No.
school meetings lately.
No, they
so-
canceled a couple, and I don't know when
Yeah.
they're gonna, I mean, I don't like those. I like the ones that are in the conference room as opposed to the, where you have
General
just
school meeting.
one-on-one conversations as
Yeah.
opposed to just being a listener and going to the, to the
Right.
school committee meeting and stuff like that, because they never really talk about budgets per se until
Mhm.
usually at the very end, so. Yes,
So anything else? Any
No.
updates? Okay. Well, it is 8:05. Do I have a motion that we adjourn?
Do we have to set a meeting?
Oh, geez. Thank you. So, do we want to say in August sometime?
It's fine with me.
Tuesday, not Wednesday, though.
August 6th?
Is that Tuesday?
Yes.
That's fine with me.
I won't be available that,
Oh,
but, Tuesday?
Right.
Tuesday I am.
Okay, good.
Thinking Wednesday. Tuesday the 6th, okay.
So, same time?
7:15.
Okay. Good, thank you. All right, so now it is 8:06. Do I have a motion that we adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay.